so they have a reference. And like I said, it's pretty comprehensive. It has pretty much everything that Tkinter offers, and it has all the nice little uh, reference guide. So in this case, we're going to go into the entry. So these are the options for the entry object. So it takes so I guess it doesn't have a read-only option. I thought it did. So as you can see here, it tells you all the options that you can provide when you create that object, and it gives you a nice little description of what they are. So yeah, there's no read-only. You can also go to just regular Google search, or in this case, I'm using DuckDuckGo. So let's say Tkinter entry. And Stack Overflow is another one of my favorite resources. Oh, that's what it is. It's a state option. So we need to set state to disabled. So I'll get this out of the way. It's the combo box has a read-only option. I was confusing it. So let's try that. Okay, the window came up. As you can see, we can't type in it. So we'll go ahead and use that for now, just so that we can restrict the user to only use these buttons, so that they can't type in letters or random characters, which we'll take care in the future. But for now, we just want to make the behavior go off of the buttons that we have on our window here. So like I said, this is pretty much our view for now. This is all we want. We want the entry to display the numbers and the calculations, and then we want the buttons to type in the numbers for now. Later we can add functionality to support keying in numbers. And then we have our operators and our clear button, equal button. So now that we have all of that, we need to add in the functionality. So like I said, we began with the view, and we're pretty much done with the view for now. And that was just these few methods here. Making the buttons dynamically, making the entry, and making our main frame just so that we can pad it all the way around. So now we go back to our controller, and again our controller is going to control the behavior of our view. So when the like the user clicks on one of the buttons or equals or whatever, this is what's going to control it. So we're going to make a callback function for when the user clicks the button, and we actually only need one because of the way we created the buttons dynamically. We can also set a callback function dynamically and just use one callback function. So I'll say on button click, and since we're only using one, we need to know which button, so it's going to take an argument. We'll say caption, and for now we'll just put a simple print statement in here to test it. So we'll say we use a formatted string. F strings are the new way to format strings, available since Python 3.6. It's pretty convenient because you can format a string by just typing out the string and then filling in whatever you need to fill in and putting the variable in curly brackets. So we'll say button, and then we can just put caption in here surrounded by the braces, and that'll create our string, our formatted string, which is pretty convenient rather than the old way of doing it, which was with the dot format method, which is still better than older versions of doing it. But this one is I think is a good upgrade. So we'll say button, and then caption will get filled in, and then we'll say clicked. So this is going to be our callback function for when the user presses a button, any button, because we're only going to be using one. So now we actually have to go back to our view. So when we create our buttons here dynamically, another option for buttons, if going back to our reference over here, so here we can just search for button. So I already know that it has a command option, but just to show you really quick, you can you can look at all the options and look at the description. So you'll see buttons have a command option, and then it says a function to be called when the button is pressed. So that's what we're going to use to bind it to our callback function. So we're going to add another argument for the command parameter, and we're going to say, and in this case, remember, we need to provide this argument, the caption. So the way we can do that is using what's called the lambda. Lambda is basically used to create a function that only has one expression, like a simple function. But it's also useful in cases like this, where you need to call a callback function and pass a parameter. So we'll say, we'll put it in parentheses just for readability. So we'll say lambda, and remember we need to pass the caption to it. And since we're iterating through this list of captions, caption is changing each time. So we need it to be the caption that's for each button, its own unique caption. So the way we do that is in our one-line function, we create another parameter, button, and then here we bind caption to it. So now lambda button equals caption, and then the colon, since it's our one-line function, and we're going to call, I'll put this over here. Let me just move this over here. So now we're going to call, remember we have the controller attribute of this class, which is the instance of the controller that was passed in here. So through there we have access to this method to use as our callback. So we'll say on button click. And in this case we don't want the parentheses, because that would be calling it. We just want to bind that function to the callback, but we don't want to. If you leave it like this, it's going to call it when this gets created,